Talking with Topher is sponsored by slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com. Put in promo code TOPHER to get 10% off your entire purchase. More on that later. Let's get into episode 146. What is happening, TWT fans? It is so good to be back on this January 19th, 2023, and I'm so glad to have you all here with me. But before I get into anything today, I want to start off by saying thank you. Thank you to all my subscribers, new and old. I appreciate you all. You're what keeps me coming back here week after week, and you keep the guests coming on. I love it so much. So keep showing the support, share, rate, review, and of course, give a thumbs up for those videos. This is a lot of work to do. So I appreciate everything you all do for me out there. If you are new to the podcast, maybe you're just swinging by, stopping by, checking it out, want to see what the guests are all about, click, slam, stomp on that subscribe button, all right? It's absolutely free for you to do. It keeps the podcast growing, and I greatly appreciate it. So do it. It's free. Click the subscribe button, all right? Thank you so much. Just keep doing that. And, of course, if you want to get more involved with the podcast, talkinwithtopher@gmail.com is the official email of the podcast. You can send an audio. You can send a video. You can send a typed-out email. Maybe you got a story. Maybe you got a struggle you've gone through and come out on the other side a better person, like my guest today. Go ahead and send that in to talkinwithtopher@gmail.com. talkinwithtopher@gmail.com. Send that today. I'll check it out. If I pick you out, you could be a guest on Talking with Topher. So go ahead and send that on over to the email, the official email of the podcast, talkinwithtopher@gmail.com. And then, of course, if you want to follow me, go ahead and click the link tree. That's right. That link tree link is going to give you access to everything TWT, all my social media, all my shorts, all the videos I'm doing, everything TWT is in the Linktree link. Whether you type it out or go to the link in the description below the video, you'll have access to everything TWT immediately. So go check that out. Give a click, give a subscribe, give a follow. I greatly appreciate it. And now with all that out of the way, let's start today's episode. Yeah, I got a lot going on right now, but I mean, everything is going well. All right, I'm very busy. I'm on lack of sleep, and I'm fitting in guests, and I'm super excited about it. I didn't think I was going to be able to do this, but I think that was just an excuse I was using, so I didn't have to. And I'm so glad that I fought the urge to be comfortable and then put myself out of my comfort zone, because the guest that I have today, absolutely amazing. It was great to work with him. It's great to work with him on the mats. That's right. He's part of the PMA family. And I'm just so pleased to have him on. I just wanted to give a quick update for everybody out there. I got some Rogue pouches, the nicotine pouches, to help me quit vaping. I'm telling everybody right now, these are the ones that everybody should be using. They are the most flavorful ones I've ever had. They have apple, berry, mango. Incredible. The spearmint, the wintergreen, so good. So, again, I'm working on quitting vaping. I got into new pouches, and these Rogue pouches are where it's at. They are absolutely phenomenal, and now I know why. Brendan Schaub shouts about them so much. They are absolutely delicious, and they are $5 a can, and you can get them free delivery. I mean, go and check out Rogue pouches today. All right, they're working for me to help me get vaping free. So that's one of the things I'm working on right now. Everything else seems to be going very smoothly. I'm starting to feel very comfortable in my position, and I'm going to get more into that next week. But today, you're all here for the guest. So instead of me rambling on and on and on like I always do, let's get into today's podcast with my guest, Mason Grey Barchard. And what's happening, everybody? I got a fun podcast for all you out there. This is my guest, Mason Barchard from Professional Martial Arts Academy in Derry, New Hampshire. Yes, sir, and go ahead and plug and promote anything.
All right, so I guess I'll just start off with like my personal Instagram, which is Mason Grey JJ. Mm-hmm. And then I'm a head instructor at a Jiu-Jitsu academy in Concord called Start BJJ Concord. And then my home academy is Start BJJ New Hampshire. So that's really all I want to plug.
No, that's awesome. Now, what the Concord school I know about. What's the other one?
Start BJJ New Hampshire?
Yeah.
That's PMA Derry, technically.
Oh, it is?
Yes. But if you go on Instagram, there's 2 pages. So there's PMA Derry, which kind of like gives you an overview of all of the programs. And then you have Start BJJ New Hampshire, which is just like specifically for the Jiu-Jitsu program.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah, so there's a couple pages on Instagram from over in Derry. But yeah, PMA Derry as well. That's where I grew up. Where I was fortunate enough to like get involved with all the martial arts, kind of born into it.
So let's start there. What was it like growing up in that world?
Man, I think as a kid you don't really get to like see like the full scope of things a lot of the time. So I think I took it for granted growing up a lot, but it was definitely really special. Like it's cool nowadays because I have my niece running around the academy and I get to like kind of see her go through that similar process that I went to. But man, it was amazing, So my parents were split up, so we like spent time with my mom and time with my dad. My mom worked a part-time job growing up, so every day in the summer when we weren't at school and stuff, we were at the academy until like 4:00. So like nobody would be there. I'd like invite a friend over, a really good friend of mine, Brett Totillo, who lived like right up the street, and every summer, man, like we would just go and we'd make up all these crazy games, like build forts and all the shields and stuff. So it was really special, man. It was really special. And that's just like outside of the martial arts, and then like you involve the martial arts. That's something I really took for granted as a kid because I didn't really understand like the gravity of it.
Right.
It was something that I kind of just did because my dad did,
Well,
like,
I think that's most kids. You know what I mean? Like if your parents are showing it to you or trying to get you, you're just kind of a little bit more hesitant. Yes. Because like I think most kids are like, well, you're just pushing this on me, Dad. Or you know what I mean? Exactly. You know what I mean? So you want to go your own path, but then you realize later on in life that like, oh yeah, that was actually a very, you know what I mean? Like I've swung back on some stuff my dad showed me and I was like, oh, now I get it. I get it. You know what I mean?
100%.
But you used to hang out at that wasn't until 94, right? When the school opened.
Yes, and I was born in 98, so.
Oh, you were born in 98. Yep. Okay, this is when I start to feel old. Perfect. Jesus Christ, yeah. So growing up in that environment, the divorced family, going back and forth, but you went a little bit of a different path. You got into lacrosse. That was like your main thing, right? Before, like you were training, you were in and out, but like you would skip training for months because you were always doing lacrosse.
For years, yeah, for
years. When did you actually start doing lacrosse?
So I started playing lacrosse. I want to say I was 7 years old.
Holy shit! Okay. So you got into you were doing in the jiu-jitsu family, like 4 years old, playing around, having fun, and then by 7. You were in lacrosse. What captured your attention to that?
So I started off playing football because my dad played football growing up.
Right.
So I got involved into the football first when I was 7. And, a lot of the kids that I was playing football with at the time, they all were going to go play lacrosse in the spring. So my dad got me a stick. And I remember a few times going with, I'm spacing on his first name, but Mr. Billiter. I played with his son Todd like my whole life, and he was like gave me kind of like my first lacrosse lesson. Kind of showed me how to throw, pass, and catch. But I was too young to start, so I had a stick. I got to play around for a bit, and then eventually I got on a team and I got to start playing. But yeah, lacrosse was like a lifelong journey. It was something that kind of captured my eye. I'm very like I like things that are very technical.
Mm-hmm.
Like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
jiu-jitsu
of
is
course.
very technical, right? And lacrosse kind of has that the aspect of football where
Okay.
like you're still very physical, but there's more of like almost like an artistic expression.
Well, it's a pretty brutal sport.
Yeah, it's a brutal sport, but like I like the side of it. It's like, like there's a certain swagger to it. Like
Is there? Okay.
how you throw the ball, how you shoot the ball, how you cradle the ball, how you like dodge somebody. Like it's all like there's a lot of like expression involved, and I
I
kind
did
of
not
always
know that.
gravitated towards like things that allow me to like express who I am through them, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I think, like looking back, I don't think I consciously thought of that as a kid, but I think like looking back, that's something that really captured my interest, was like the ability like, oh, I can do this, but I can kind of make it my own too,
Oh, wow.
So
So how long were you did you did that from 7 till why'd you stop it?
So I stopped after my sophomore year in college. I was playing in college. I got a scholarship to play at Southern New Hampshire University. I was playing over there, but I had a lot of head injuries.
Oh,
throughout
right, the
years.
concussions. I remember vaguely about
Yeah.
them being mentioned.
Yeah, so actually in high school, it was my senior year. I had like like you get hit in the head like growing up playing sports and stuff like that, and you don't really think about it too much. It's just something that happens. But the one that kind of like really changed my perspective on it was senior year of high school. I was going, I was staying up at Brewster, living at school.
Okay.
So it was hard to get like jiu-jitsu training in, so I'd get it whenever I could. So I went home on like a weekend. I think it was on a Sunday. We had like an open mat or something like that, and I was training, and it was just one of those like instances where like I move at the same time as somebody else moves, and you guys just connect. So I caught like a knee to the head.
Oh shit.
And I mean, like I said, like, you get hit in the head all the time, like just being like doing physical activity and whatnot. So I didn't think much of it.
Mm-hmm.
The next day we went to play pickup lacrosse, just like getting ready for the season, because this was like kind of like late winter, like almost springtime.
Okay,
And,
I'm gonna stop you right there because I have no idea what pickup lacrosse is.
So pickup lacrosse is just like, it's like outside of practice. So it's kind of like, so you'll hear like a lot of people.
Like an open mat.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So like a lot of athletes, like basketball players is a good example. They play like their whole lives, play through like high school, whatever. And then once they get older, they have like pickup leagues. So like you and your friends like make a team, and you guys go play other older guys who also like just play with their friends. So it's more of like a casual thing.
Oh, okay, more for the hobbyist.
Yeah, so this was kind of like that because we couldn't have any like official practices yet because we weren't in season. Or anything
okay.
Like that. So, we were playing, and I got, you wear a helmet, so I had like my helmet on, and
Yeah, they have a cage, right?
Yep. So like you don't get hit in the face and stuff like that. So I had caught a pass, and a guy like poked the guy who was covering me poked me with his stick, and it hit me right in the face mask, and like usually it's not a problem. But since I had got concussed the day before without knowing it, it knocked me out.
Oh, wow.
So I got something called second impact syndrome.
Really?
So it's when you get concussions in like multiple succession, and it's like really bad. I remember like, the same kind of mentality, like, oh, I got hit in the head, it's whatever. But I was talking to my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, Mason, you're like slurring your words, like you can't text, like what's going on, blah blah blah. Are you drunk? Are you this? Are you that?
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like nothing happened. And then it dawned on me that I had got hit in the head a couple times. So I went and saw like our trainer and went through like the concussion protocol, and then had to see a neurologist and all.
Holy shit.
All that fun stuff. So that was kind of, for lack of a better term, the beginning of the end of like my lacrosse career. Yeah.
No shit.
Yep.
I mean, it's a dangerous thing,
So dangerous,
it's like fighters,
Yeah,
once that
the
chin
TwT and
goes, it doesn't come back. I mean, the body just literally goes, we can't do this, and it shuts down, and it's a dangerous situation.
100%.
Holy shit.
And you figure that's like your most powerful asset in life is your mind. So
Yeah.
it's not something that you really want to play around with,
No.
So
Holy shit. So that ended the career in lacrosse.
yes.
And is that when? How many years ago was this?
This was not super. This was like
Yeah, I was gonna say.
pre-COVID, like 2019. That was my junior year in college, and that was
Okay.
the first year that I started.
So about 3 years ago,
Yeah, that's when I decided to
right?
step
Has
away
it been
from
3 years? I feel like with those 2 years lost,
Man, it's crazy.
it's crazy.
It's
I
crazy.
always lose track of like time and distance now.
Yes.
Like we were talking the other day downstairs, and I'm like, yeah, no, that was like 2 years ago, and my wife's like, no, that was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's-
oh yeah, I forgot. We
2
lost
years,
2.
like felt like a month or.
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean,
crazy.
the whole lockdown and everything that we went through, I feel like everybody's kind of on the same page. We never really remember how long ago something was now. We're
Yeah.
always off by a year or two because of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
you know what I
an
mean?
interesting
But
time for sure.
so that all happens. Your lacrosse career is ending, but you're still doing jiu-jitsu in between all of this.
Yeah, so kind of how like my jiu-jitsu progression went is I as a kid kind of did it like on and off. I was kind of more into the MMA. I actually didn't really like jiu-jitsu as a kid.
Really?
It's pretty
That's-
funny to say that now.
That's wild.
But yeah, I didn't really enjoy it too much. Back then it was I think a lot tougher for the kids to get into it because it's not as big as it is now. So
Yeah,
now
okay.
like you go to the academy, you see there's a huge kids program, like there's like the adult classes. Back then it was like you got like training like more or less where you could. So there, if I remember correctly, there wasn't really a kids class, so I was having to train with the adults. And
Okay.
my dad being my dad, all the beatings that people wish they could have gave him, I was receiving more or less as a kid. So I definitely think it's a good thing because it definitely like made my jiu-jitsu what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't very very fun. And jiu-jitsu's hard, so for a kid to like be in that setting with adults who are like really going after it, it was tough. So I was more into the striking starting out. But then what happened is before I went to Brewster, I was going to a public school. I went to Pinkerton Academy. I was still like splitting time between living at my mom's and my dad's. I had made the decision that it was better for me to like stay with my dad full time. So what was happening is when I moved in there full time, I would get home like, I'd go to school. I would go do like my training for lacrosse after school, whether like when we were out of season.
Yeah.
I would go lift with, if you remember Cody.
Yep.
I would go like work out with Cody, and he'd help me like on the field with lacrosse like
Oh,
skills
okay.
and stuff. So,
Wow.
but I'd get home around like 5:00. So from like 5 to like 10 p.m. more or less, I was at home by myself because my dad and my stepmom Laura were always at the academy. From 5 till that time, like that's like the prime time of the academy.
Right.
So I was spending a lot of time by myself. So I was like, man, screw it. Like, I'm just going to like start training jiu-jitsu again. Cause like, I just don't want to like sit here in the house by myself,
Right. And what age was this?
This was about 16.
16?
About 16, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Cause actually I was, like a yellow belt in jiu-jitsu, and I went back to like my first open mat.
Okay.
And once you're 16, you're like in the adult ranking system.
Right.
So you're not allowed to be like a yellow belt at like 16 years old. So
okay. You're
my
not
dad
allowed
was-
to
yeah.
be. But what
So he was forced to give me my blue belt.
he was forced to, but is the yellow? I thought there was an orange one. Is it?
Yeah, so that's like the progression of the ranks. It's a little different now. There's like a gray belt now, but like when I was coming up, it was like white with yellow, orange, and then green, I believe. But now they have more ranks because it kind of keeps the kids more engaged, like keeps them working towards something.
Oh, okay. I
'Cause
see.
Once you get green belt, you can't get promoted until you're 16.
So if they push it off a little bit and give them a couple more to strive for, hopefully keeping them in there until they hit that green, and then they turn 16, you automatically get that blue.
the blue belt. So
Yeah,
I
'cause-
wasn't even training, and I got
Wow.
a
Yeah,
blue belt.
my nephew just got his blue belt because he just
that's
turned
awesome, man.
16. So now he's
Very cool.
Yeah. It was a pretty exciting day for him.
Yeah, where does
so.
he train?
The gentle.
Gentle Art Dojo? Is
Yes.
it in Mass?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard of it
My
'cause of, Rob
brother-in-law has his brown belt.
Oh, that's
there.
awesome, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had no
he's-
idea that you had other people
Oh,
within the
well,
family.
he was one of the first ones I ever spoke to about jiu-jitsu. And then on my wife's family is split up as well. So
Uh-huh.
we got her dad's side and we got her mom's side. This is her dad's side.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden on her mom's side, my 15-year-old nephew got into jiu-jitsu probably about 8 years ago, and that because now I've hit 8 years now. And so what happened was I was like, what is he doing? And they were talking about jiu-jitsu. I heard a little bit about it on Rogan because I was listening to him back then, and I was like, man, I really want to try this. And then I went over to my friend's house who got me into Joe Rogan, and he had a gi from PMA on his countertop.
Who was that friend?
Hugh Murphy.
Hugh Murphy. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then you knew like Rob before the academy as well then, and that's really cool, man.
Yeah. So we're all kind of connected in a way. And I was like, "You're doing this now too? What the fuck?" And he's like, "You got to just do it." And I kept making up excuses. I can't fit it into my schedule. I can't do this. I can't do that. And then I realized I was making up excuses. But that's also back when I was drinking, so everything was an excuse back then.
Yeah.
And I finally bit the bullet because him and my friend Nigel were both doing it.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, well then I'm going to do it. I found the time. I'm going to schedule it, and I'm going to join. Right after I joined, they went to the Brazil thing. There was a Brazil
like a trip maybe.
Yeah, there was like a trip. So
so
him and Nigel both went to this trip, came back from the trip, and then never went again.
Man, that's crazy.
And I had just started.
Crazy.
They were on the trip. I went to my first couple classes. I was waiting for them to return to come back onto the mat. I think Hugh came back once.
Yeah.
And then when Rick opened up his school in Plastow, he met me there once, and we worked with Rick.
Oh, nice.
And that's how I started going to Rick's class, because I found it, it was Thursday morning. It was working towards my schedule a little bit better. So I ended up sticking with it. I stayed with it, and I'm the only one that stuck with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of how that fell. But when my nephews were getting into it, I was just super intrigued, and I was like hearing about it, and I'm like, what is this,
Yeah.
And I needed to get out of all these different comfort zones, all these zones that I was in. I couldn't be around.
Do that.
I couldn't be around crowds. I didn't like bare feet. I mean, there was just so many different things I was dealing with, and jiu-jitsu squashed all of that for me.
I think jiu-jitsu is a beautiful tool in that sense, because it really shows you how life is. Yeah. It really shows you that, like, if you want something, you have to work towards it.
And I think it has, not only does it do that, but it if you think of almost anything that you're doing and you put jiu-jitsu before it,
100%.
It's all the same.
100%. It applies to everything.
Everything. Absolutely everything. And, being 6 years off of alcohol and stuff like that, it really has showed me how, like, even with my new position that I'm doing today, I can just, if I get overwhelmed, I just stop, I breathe, and I just think about it. And it's like, okay, this is like having trouble with a move right now.
Yep.
I'm having trouble remembering it, but if I just keep doing it, it'll eventually click.
You'll eventually get it. Exactly.
Yeah, so I apply it to almost everything in my
100%.
life. But back to you getting your blue belt. So now you've gotten your blue belt because you had to be graduated.
Yeah.
And then you're still doing lacrosse at this time.
Yeah, so I was still doing lacrosse. It was kind of like, like lacrosse is in the spring. It's a spring sport. So
it is? Okay. Yeah, all right.
So I had more time in like the fall, the winter, and the summer. I mean, I played summer lacrosse, but I had more time like in the off seasons. So that's when I kind of like I said, I was moved back in like full time with my dad, and they were always there. So I didn't want to be alone. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go train. And that's kind of when I like started to like really like jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And around that time is when I decided to go back, or I decided to go to boarding school, to go to Brewster. So that took me away from jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And that was really like the turning point for me, where I was like, it really showed me, since I was always around it, and this was the first time that I moved far away from it, and I didn't have the access to do it when I wanted to. It showed me how much I needed it and how much it meant to me.
Oh, okay. All right. So you were like almost missing it while you were at lacrosse, even though lacrosse was a big love of yours.
Yes.
You were like, I'm really missing class right now, kind of in the back of the brain.
Yeah. And
you got that.
And it was,
the bug.
It was kind of like, I think just the way that society is like, like what every parent wants for their kid, like more or less, and like what, you know, like the ideal life is like, okay, like I play sports, like I'm an athletic kid growing up, right? I go to college, like I get a degree, and then I get a good job. You know, and I think that I kind of like fell in that path a little bit, and then when I went to Brewster, it started to like wake me up to like what really mattered to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that was when it started to like I started to have like a disconnect within myself.
Interesting.
So
And this
like
is at what age?
this was I was
You were
like
about 20?
about 17, because this is
17?
still high
Oh,
school.
This is still high. Brewster is high school?
Yes.
Oh,
Brewster's high
okay.
school, yeah.
I thought it was a college.
So I went to SNU for college. Brewster was so I did for high school I did 3 years at Pinkerton.
Oh, okay. I graduated from Pinkerton.
Yeah, it's a huge school.
Class
man.
of 98.
That's when I was born, man. It's so
Yeah,
crazy,
dude.
so crazy.
It's fucking wild to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so it was kind of like a decision to kind of like pursue the lacrosse a little harder. You know, I was having trouble in the classroom, so Brewster was supposed to be a place where, and it really is a place where, you know, they help you get on the right track, like help you in the classroom. I had like to the point where like I'm working like one-on-one with someone. They're teaching me how to like allocate my time to study, like how I take notes, like how do I go about writing papers, like stuff like that, you know.
All
So
right.
they really helped in that sense. And like Brewster altogether was just like a beautiful school. I met my best friends there, like to this day, like, you know, the guys that'll be like standing next to me on my wedding day and stuff like that, those guys. So I'm really appreciative of Brewster and what it did for me, and you know, like it gave me the opportunity to go to college and have that experience. But I'm mostly grateful for the fact that it opened my eyes, like I was saying, that like what's really important to me.
And what were you finding that was more important to you at that time?
Was the jiu-jitsu. It was just, I don't, you know, like it's one of those things that that's hard to describe, but it's like I kind of have this like approach to life now where I just do what sets my heart on fire. And jiu-jitsu is one of those things that sets my heart on fire, that like regardless, you know, like there's days you don't want to do anything, but like,
Of course.
but there's like two things that I need to do every day, and that's play guitar and train jiu-jitsu. Those are like the things that set my heart on fire. So like I think it opened my eyes, that it really showed me what I was passionate about when I went to Brewster. And yeah, I think it really started to stem from there. And then, you know, any chance that I had to train while I was up there, I was getting as much training as I could. My dad would come on the weekends, like bring mats, and we'd set up mats somewhere on campus and like,
Oh, really?
and get some training and
Dude,
stuff.
that's so
yeah.
dope.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I was definitely blessed to have that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
Well, I'm sure he does. Like, I feel like Tim never shuts it off.
No,
Like if
dude,
it,
he's a worker. Like,
if
he blows
if
my
there's
mind, man.
somewhere, if there's a 8x8 spot, you throw a mat down and he'll just start going to town. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel like it's just,
He's amazing.
that's
man.
it.
He's amazing.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's awesome. So now you're 17, you're finding yourself, you're finding your passions. And when did you start competing?
So I started. So when I
know.
started competing, actually was. So I did my junior. I finished my junior year at Brewster. I still remember the phone call. I can picture exactly where I was, and like I was sitting on you know, like I would talk to my dad a lot. I'd call him every day while I was at Brewster, and we were on the phone one day, and I was sitting on like the little staircase in the back hallway that I normally sit on when I would like talk to my dad, and he goes, "Oh man, like we're gonna have this this young black belt come up. Like he's like has amazing jiu-jitsu, blah blah blah. Like he's gonna come spend the summer with us, and it's gonna be really good." And I was super excited, man, because like I would spend all my time at Brewster on YouTube watching like jiu-jitsu videos of like the top level competitors, like the Meow brothers, all these guys, and you know, I was like, oh man, now I'm gonna be able to train with someone at this level. Like this is gonna be amazing. So that's when Lucas came.
Yep. That's
And,
who I figured we were talking about. Yeah.
So then that's when I started competing.
That's when you started
Yeah,
competing.
I kind of just followed him around to all the tournaments that
that
he went to.
was
2016.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, that was
2016.
like 6-7 years ago now.
Yeah, so that's when I started competing, and
How many competitions have you done up to this point?
a lot, man.
Really?
A lot. Yeah, I've done. You know, I've definitely been fortunate enough to like travel, see a lot of cool places. Got the opportunity to compete in Brazil, which was like amazing, you know, and yeah, I don't know how many, honestly, but I've done a lot, and every time, you know, like I've never gotten the results that I wanted.
Okay.
But I think that's like a beauty of the process because it kind of shows you like I think I'm kind of eager to like try it again because I think when I was uh competing before, I was competing for the wrong reasons.
Oh, I
I was
see.
competing for the recognition, for the acknowledgement, okay, my jiu-jitsu is good. So now I need to go prove it to everybody that my jiu-jitsu is good. So I have to go like win this tournament and I got to go win this and I got to go do this or, you know. So I think I put a lot of pressure, unnecessary pressure on myself. And now I'm kind of at a point where I think, you know, I think it's a good challenge for yourself. It's a really good idea.
Okay, I see. So instead of you being like, my game is this, and now I need to go show everybody my game, you'll show up to a competition and you'll see what you can learn from it.
See
while
what I
you're
can
there.
learn, yeah, and really just challenge myself. You know, like I think vulnerability is really important in life. You know, I think vulnerability is how people connect. I
Yeah.
think, you know, like if you can approach everything in your life with vulnerability, like it's not easy, obviously,
No.
but I think it's really important. So I think that like competition, putting yourself out there, is one way, like one avenue to do that. You know, every time you step on the mats, you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position.
Yes.
Because like, you know, out on the streets, everybody can kind of like hide behind
Right.
like their ego, whatever you want to
Whatever you want to
but,
call it. Right.
you know, jiu-jitsu really brings like who you are like to the surface.
Yes.
When you're in those bad positions, it brings who you are to the surface. So I think that competition is just another way where you can like really learn more about yourself. And like the obviously like at least my goal in life is just to be the best version of me. So I think that competition is a good avenue for that, for sure.
Wow.
Good
That's awesome, because I've always been nervous about competitions. I've only done the inter-school one once.
I have a good
And-
story for you.
Yo, go.
Story for you. So
Tell me.
So you know Eduardo Hockey.
Yeah.
So Eduardo, man, like brown belt, no gi, and gi world champion. Like, man, like an amazing competitor, has like double golded at so many competitions throughout the ranks. You know, he's at black belt now. Like,
Yes.
winning gold medals and stuff. And I remember before I was a purple belt, we were in Florida. We were going to fight Pan Ams. And I was talking to Eduardo. And I said, man, do you ever get nervous before competitions? Like, I always get so nervous. Like, my nerves will like overtake me sometimes. And I like can't like bring myself back to like who I am, like grounded, you know? And he's like, man, I get so nervous before every fight. He says, like, every day, like every time I go compete, like I walk in there and I'm like, man, like what am I doing here? Like I could be sitting at home on the couch eating Ben & Jerry's, like watching my favorite show on Netflix. And the example he gave me as why competition is so beautiful and why what we do is so beautiful, he used an Uber driver as an example.
Okay.
So an Uber driver, ready? This is the life of an Uber driver. You wake up, you have your breakfast, you get in your car, you drive all day. This is how your day goes. You drive all day. You go home, you sit on the couch, you eat dinner, whatever, watch your show, go back to bed, wake up, do it again. And your life is always like this.
Yep.
When you go to compete, you show up at the tournament. Man, what am I doing here? Like, I can't believe I'm here. What am I doing? I'm not ready for this, blah, blah, blah. Then you go out, you fight, you do well. Man, that was the best experience of my life.
Yeah.
I got to fight again. Oh my gosh, this was great. Oh, I lost. Like, you know, it's the up and downs that make it worth it. And I heard
that gave me goosebumps. That's wild.
I heard a really good quote, bro, the other day about a heartbeat. So, like, without highs and lows, think of a heartbeat. Without highs and lows, and you relate it to a heartbeat, and it's a flat line.
Yep.
When you flatline, you what?
Die.
You die.
Yep.
So it's those highs and lows that keep you alive. That's what makes up life.
Right.
So,
I agree with that so much. You know, 'cause just being where I am today, and the message that I'm always trying to get across is that you have to get out of that comfort zone.
100%.
If you're in a comfort zone, you're not going to grow. You're going to just stay. And
If you were comfortable, you would never move.
right. And it's like, that's so the last 6 years of my life have been nothing but getting out of that, just throwing it all away and starting over or working on something brand new.
And that's such a beautiful thing, man.
we all need to do it. It's so important.
That's what life is, right?
Yeah, I really do believe it is, because if we were meant to be comfortable, I think we'd all be comfortable.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy to choose to be comfortable.
But most people that are happy today, or most people that are moving forward, a lot of people get mad at the rich, or they get upset with these people that have it so easy. But then you listen to their stories, and it was all up and downs. They were always unsure of themselves. And so now I don't look at the rich people as this thing that I could never acquire. I look at them and I go, well, look they're not sleeping. They're working all the time. They're doing this. They're putting themselves out there. And if I keep doing that myself, I may not get to that level, but I'd be able to get to a level.
But you can get to that level.
I possibly 100%. Could. I'm a little 100%. Older, so I still have a little doubt.
But it all stems from here. The first step is believing, man. The first step is believing.
That's it. It's gotten a little bit easier to believe in myself today. Like all the stuff that I've done so far up to today.
What you've accomplished is amazing.
I think what you've accomplished is amazing, because the stuff that I say this to almost everybody that comes onto the podcast, but
thank you for having me, by the way.
No, not a problem, man. It's my pleasure. But you're so fluid. Because everybody that comes on is a much higher belt than me. You've all been doing it so much longer. So when we're rolling together, I'm just like, I can feel when you're kind of letting me try something. And then I can also feel when you're like, oh, okay, I'm done. Poop. And it's just over. And it's like, I am looking forward to the day when I get to do that. Because I still have these feelings and thoughts of, where am I going? What's this? What's next? What's that? And when I'm rolling with you or Tim or Drew or Rich or Rob, it's just like you guys just have this fluidity to you, and I'm just like, man, that's so amazing.
It's just experience, man. Right? It's just time on the mat, That's all it is. There's no secret sauce or anything. It's just like you show up, you do the work, and then that's how you get to that level,
Right, and it just becomes it. So I know that I got to keep working at it, and eventually that'll all just come together. 100%. But it's like when you're in it, you're just like, I gotta get there. I gotta get there.
Yeah, and man, that's something that I've been working on a lot. Because like recently, like I've mentioned before, I started playing the guitar. I've been playing for about a year now. And, like, there's nothing more that I want than to be able to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan or to play like Jimi Hendrix.
So with that, you've now taken yourself out of your comfort zone again. Yes. Because now you're starting with something that you have no experience in, and you're trying to get experience at it.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely become a huge part of my life. Like, it's changed the way that I approach everything. Like the way that I approach jiu-jitsu, the way that I just like approach life, it really has like had a huge influence on me, and I'm just like so grateful. I have a really good friend, a guy that I met. He was my roommate at Brewster. His name's John, man, and he's an amazing player. And I was going through a tough time, and anytime I'm going through a tough time, those guys always can pull me out of it. And I went to visit him when he was living in Connecticut at the time, and he just like sat down and he was playing his guitar for me, and I was just like, man, like this is so crazy. Like I can't believe like a human being can do this, Like, and I was like, you know what, maybe this is something that I want to do. And I had mentioned it to him, and I think like in that world there's a lot of gatekeeping. Like people don't want people to start because maybe like, okay, like if this guy starts, maybe he'll be better than me, or like, if this like they kind of like keep it for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
And he was very like, man, like here, like buy this guitar, like get this, and every step of the way he's been like helping me. So I'm definitely like very grateful to have him. But I'm sorry, I forgot where I was going.
No, it's absolutely fine, because actually I wanted to touch on what you had just said a moment ago, because one of the other things that I do with this podcast is I want more people to tell their struggles.
Yes.
And you just said that you were going through a struggle in your life. And I'm not saying it's life-ending struggle, but it could have been life-ending struggle
100%.
in your mind.
Yeah.
And if you would touch on that, because I think it's so important. Like my struggle, alcoholism, firing my gun off in public, going to jail multiple times, all kinds of shit. I was
Yeah.
ruining my life, but I turned it around and I got out of it, and I'm where I am today because of it. So many people have come on here with major struggles. Elijah came on, and
Yeah,
and
man.
and and
He's
Miguel,
such an
and
inspiration.
so many others, Rick, and they all had life struggles, but they came out of that struggle on the other side a stronger person.
Of course.
And if it's not too much to ask, would you touch on your
Not at
struggle
all,
and,
man, not at all.
and kind of explain how you got through it? And I believe we're all stronger people when we actually
100%.
deal with our struggles head on.
And
then
that's
come through it.
That's a beautiful thing, man. I like to think I went to a lacrosse camp, and I'll talk about my struggles in a second, but
Yeah.
I went to a lacrosse camp, like a recruiting camp, and I don't remember his name, but he was the head coach for the Fairfield men's lacrosse team, and he had battled cancer, beat cancer, like super inspirational guy, and he told this story about the difference between a cow and a buffalo.
Okay.
So a cow, when a storm is coming, a cow runs away from the storm.
Okay.
Now, eventually, the storm catches up to the cow, and the cow keeps running in the direction of the storm. So they're keeping themselves in the storm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
A buffalo, when a storm's coming, they turn and they run into the storm head on. Eventually, the storm passes.
Oh, I see.
So
Yes.
I kind of like to, take that approach to struggles, like you said. Like it's important to face it head on. So in terms of like that struggle, I was just struggling like within myself. I was kind of at a point where I was getting kind of burnt out with the jiu-jitsu. I was like trying like going really hard at the competition training 2-3 times a day. And I kind of got really lost in it. I kind of lost sight of who I was, like in the pursuit of achieving, like of essentially going for gold medals to prove to other people that like I had good jiu-jitsu. And, I really lost myself in that. So I kind of had taken a step back from jiu-jitsu, and I was really lost, man. Like really lost. I didn't know really what to do with myself. And, like having people around me, just like the people I talk about, like my friends and my family and stuff, they obviously like supported me through everything. But the guitar came in at a time when I needed a passion to balance out my other passion.
Okay.
So the guitar was like a really balancing thing. Like I don't think if I didn't have the guitar, I wouldn't be doing what I am doing now.
Really?
I don't know if I would be involved in jiu-jitsu, because guitar is like an outlet for my outlet.
Okay.
If that makes sense, because guitar originally jiu-jitsu is my outlet, and I'll touch on that in a second. But originally jiu-jitsu is my outlet, but then it has become a profession, right? So like within profession, there's obviously, you have problems and struggles and stuff. So it was hard to outlet from my profession when my outlet was my profession.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm following you 100%.
So the guitar kind of gave me that outside of it. And, talking about like how I really like the expression and stuff, like that's what music is it's all self-expression. So it really helped me get things out, like the guitar. So like what I always like to say is the guitar says stuff that I don't know how.
Oh, wow.
The guitar says stuff that I don't know how. So there's things, like I'm young. Like I talk about being vulnerable. It's like a never ending process. Like being able to express myself openly, like with like 100% transparency. I think that's like the real courage in life. But it's something that you have to work towards. It's like just like training. Like every day you show up to train jiu-jitsu. It's the same kind of thing in life. You got to work at it every day. So right now the guitar is helping me express the things that I don't know how. Like the feelings, the emotions, the stuff, that trip me up, that I can't put into words yet, and it helps me process those things. So without the guitar, I don't think the jiu-jitsu would be what it is, like everything balances itself out. But,
wow.
Just to use this platform, I think it's good to talk about struggles, right? Like you were saying, because like a lot of people have struggles. And, you know, we go back to talking about like kind of how like in Brewster I started to feel like kind of see what was like valuable to me, like what I cared about, like being like jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And you know, when I went to college, man, it was such a hard time for me because it really took me away from myself.
Okay.
Because I was doing things that, you know, I was studying something that I didn't enjoy. I was playing lacrosse, but I wasn't really like 100% into it anymore. You know, it wasn't like something that I like was dying to do. The jiu-jitsu is what I was dying to do, you know?
Right.
So, I was kind of like lying to myself, you know, saying that like that's where I wanted to be. And I think, you know, as human beings, we look for ways to escape from our problems.
Yes.
So I went down some bad paths in school, in college, where, you know, I resorted to the wrong things to cope with what I was going through.
Okay.
Know? And I think that can, you know, if you continue down those paths, like, it's not good, man. Like, it gets really ugly.
Yeah.
And when I decided to stop playing lacrosse, I was very lost because I was at like a crossroads, you know. I was going to school more so to play lacrosse than I was studying.
Okay.
That's what was kind of keeping me there. So I was like at a crossroads in my life where I had no direction, I had no purpose, I had nothing to work towards. So I was just partying a ton. And, you know, just not going down like a good path, you know, really not going down a good path. And I wasn't like I didn't think of myself as like a good person. Like,
okay.
I didn't feel good about myself. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I kind of like isolated myself even more, which made things worse. Right.
Yep.
So I was seeing a girl at the time, and, you know, I'm like a classic, like hopeless romantic type of guy.
Okay. All right.
And,
aren't we all?
I know, right?
We all are.
We all want the movie quality stuff, but
of course.
But, you know, so like we had gone our separate ways. Things didn't work out, man. And I was just so over like life, man. Like I was just like, man, like I don't know what I'm living for anymore. I don't know what to do. And, you know, like my dad was kind of like, he was there kind of like, you know, like, okay, like you're going to stop doing this. Like we got to figure out what you're going to do, you know? And I was just like super lost at the time. I just didn't want to do anything. And I remember like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but at this time I had taken like throughout my whole college career, I didn't train jiu-jitsu at all.
Oh, wow.
And I forget what it was, but I decided to go train jiu-jitsu one night.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that night I trained, and after training, I felt alive.
Oh, all right.
It was the first time I had felt alive in like 3 years, you know? So I was like, oh, there's something going on here, man. There's something special about this. So then, like, the next day I went back to train, and I felt the same thing, man. And I was like, man, like I gotta like really look into this, see what's going on here, you know? So I just like would keep training, and then I got to the point where like jiu-jitsu like started to become like my life again, you know? Like, I'm sure my dad's not going to be happy if he listens to this podcast to hear this, but
slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com. That's slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com. You're not sure how to spell it? It's right here at the bottom of the screen, or you can click the link in the description below the video. And you can see I'm wearing Frankenstein's Monsters shirt right now, and these guys have come out with all brand new clothing for 2023. They've updated everything again. I absolutely love this company so much. They came out with different colored socks. They got the tattoo gun stickers, the tattoo gun hats, the tattoo gun pin. I mean, just amazing. They did it in a shirt. I mean, they call it the Snake and Coil Machine Tee. These are so beautiful, so vibrant. I mean, how can you go wrong, right? It's the new year. Well, let's get some new clothing as well. I mean, they sent me the Dagger and Panther tee, right? I'm wearing the Frankenstein tee. Look at this. The WTF crazy design. That is amazing. It's that tiger with the crown eating a skull. I just love all these prints. They've updated Tiki, brought them back because it's Tiki 2022. And all of these are available right now. That's right. You go to slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com and you have access to all of these designs as I scroll through them. This stuff is amazing and you can get it right here. And now, if you put in promo code TOPHER before you check out, you're going to get an extra 10% off this entire purchase. Yeah, not one item, your entire cart. Isn't that amazing? I think it's incredible. I have Slow Down to thank. I have all of you to thank for Slow Down sponsoring the podcast. So I can give a little bit back. 10% off the purchase. When you go to slowdownclothing.bigcartel today, before you check out, put in promo code TOPHER. Save 10% more off of the purchase. So for 2023, let Talking with Topher save you some money on your slowdownclothing.bigcartel.com purchases.
I was like, I'd like have like a college class and it'd be like, well, there's training at this time. So I would skip class and I would go train.
Okay.
So I was choosing to train because that's what made me feel alive. That's what gave me purpose. Like, that's what I was like, okay, like now I got to stop doing this so my jiu-jitsu can get better. I got to stop doing this because like I need to like be able to like wake up at this time and be ready to train and stuff. So it really like put me back on course. Jiu-jitsu did, like, like the classic saying, like, jiu-jitsu saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
Jiu-jitsu saved my life, man.
Yep.
For real. Like, without jiu-jitsu, I couldn't imagine where I would be. So like I'm forever like in debt of jiu-jitsu. But I think like when we struggle with stuff, it's so easy to like step back and isolate yourself and be like, man, like,
yep,
I'm a victim. This is like only happening to me. Like nobody else is experiencing what I'm experiencing.
Right. Yeah. We all feel that way.
And that's why I talk about the vulnerability being so important, because now I'm at a point in my life where, I have a platform to impact people's lives. So I'm trying to be as open and as transparent so that people see, it's a crazy concept to me, but there's people who look up to me now, and like, I think it's important for them to see that I'm just like a normal human being who has problems, who has every emotion that everybody else has, but like when you open and you like are vulnerable about it, you give other people the opportunity to connect with you.
Yes.
And know that, like maybe their goal is to be like a black belt in jiu-jitsu one day, to know that like, just because they're experiencing this thing, doesn't mean that they can't like achieve that.
Right.
Because like the people who have achieved that have gone through everything that everybody else has,
Yeah. Oh, I agree 1,000%, because to hear you say that actually is a little shocking to me, because you've always had the jiu-jitsu world around you. And to hear you say that it also saved your life once you found it again.
Yes.
You've always had it, but then you actually found it, and it actually was showing you that this is bringing you life, and it actually is helping you heal in a sense.
100%.
And so that's a little, it's not, I don't know if the word is shocking, but I was a little thrown back by that, because like it's just always been there for you.
And that's the thing. What I think when I talk about like as a kid, I kind of took it for granted. I didn't realize the impact that it had on my life, and how much of me is jiu-jitsu.
Right. And then you're 24?
24. Yes,
oh,
sir.
I got it. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're 24, and I mean there are so many 24-year-olds or 20-year-olds out there right now that, well, we touched on it for a moment, but their lives were completely fucking destroyed by this virus.
Yeah.
And so many of them have gone down dark paths, and they're dealing with all these emotions that you just spoke of.
Yeah.
And they can't find a path out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or now they're trying to get back into what they haven't been capable of doing, and it's not the same. And they're not finding those passions, or they don't want to do, you know what I mean?
Man, I always say like, I'm super blessed to have found stuff in life that I'm passionate about, like being the guitar and being jiu-jitsu, because I think that when you're when you have something you're really passionate about, it makes life life is hard for everybody.
Everybody.
Don't get me wrong, but I think it makes life a little bit easier
Yes.
because the days that I feel terrible, I pick up my guitar, I play my guitar. The days I feel terrible, I go train jiu-jitsu. Those are the things that ground me, that bring me back to who I am at my core. I think we have a cool and I don't know it verbatim, but we have a cool quote on the wall in
Yep.
Concord. It's called the shoe rack theory. And essentially the idea is that every time you show up to the academy, you take your shoes off, you take your socks off, you leave your problems in your shoes.
Yeah.
You go train, you get better. Like it's going to be challenging, all this and that, but it shows you that you can do challenging things, right? But essentially the idea is that you train, and then when you go back to your shoes, that you're a lot more like capable of processing and like dealing with the problems that you're facing.
Yeah.
So I think when you have those passions, it's really good because it connects you back to yourself, who you like truly are, because you get lost in your thoughts a lot. As a human being, it's supernatural, man. Like you get lost in your thoughts and you're like, man, I can't do this, I can't do that. Like you can go down a rabbit hole like that, man. Like that.
Everybody does it.
And it's I think it's part of the human experience, But I think when you have those things that can bring you back to yourself, and for me it's jiu-jitsu, for me it's guitar, for me it's hiking, nature. You find those things that make you feel like yourself, and if you can do a little bit of that each day, you'll see like ever since I've kind of started approaching life that way, I've seen a lot of progression within myself, like accepting who I am, loving who I am for me, you know what I mean? Not trying to like please other people and stuff like that. Just I think when you have passions, it really helps you process life.
Yeah. No, I agree. I can't disagree with anything that you said. I feel the exact same way. And, I just think that this message needs to keep getting out there more and more and more.
100%.
Because people your age, they watch podcasts, they listen to podcasts, they see all these rich comedians and famous people and all this stuff, and they all had the same things. They all had struggles. Just because we're sitting here in this studio talking on these mics, life is not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Nope. When I was a kid, my parents were more my dad than my mom, but it's a different world today.
100%.
But my dad would always tell me, life's hard. Get a fucking helmet. Like, that's the way it is. That's the world. Nothing's going to go your fucking way. And if you want something, you have to go and get it.
Work for it, man.
You don't get it for free.
But that's the beauty of it in my eyes, because it's when you have those struggles.
Yeah.
When you work really hard for something that you can truly appreciate what it is, It's like the idea of duality. Like,
and now you've worked really hard at something, and you've now acquired your black belt.
Yes, yeah.
And now you have your own school.
Yeah, man, and I have to thank Mike and Melissa O'Rourke. Mike, and if you don't know Melissa, it's Mike's wife.
Okay.
For giving me the opportunity to be a head instructor. Like they're the owners of the academy. But I'm the one like doing all the instruction over there. And I just,
okay. So it's Mike's school, Mike and his wife.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm
just like, man, I'm just like so grateful for them for giving me the opportunity, the platform to like have an impact on people's lives. And it's like always been kind of a dream of mine because, like my dad has done it his entire life. So it's just, it's like one of those things, like dreams you see, like dreams come into reality. And I'm forever grateful to them for giving me that opportunity to pursue what I love.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. Like, I love seeing this. I love seeing this, especially somebody at your age doing something like this, because you don't hear of this very often. You know what I mean? Most of the time, let's just put it in my perspective. When I was 24, I was nowhere near where you are.
But man, I think everybody's journey is different.
They are completely different. But the way I look at things, and like my nephews and stuff like that, the one that's 16 is he keeps going in the direction he's going. He's doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And then my other nephew is more like I was. And I was like, man, that's a hard road to go down, but he's gonna end up learning from it.
Yeah, and I think what's important to understand is like, like or important to remember is like you wouldn't be who you are or where you are today if you didn't experience those struggles. So I think that's what's like really important to understand, you know, like those struggles, they don't last forever, you know.
Right.
They don't last forever. There's always better days on the horizon.
Of course.
And
yes.
I think, you know, it's very easy to get lost in the struggle, but yeah, you just have to
push through,
man. You got to push through. And when you push through, that's when, you know, that's when you're able to see how valuable like those struggles are and how necessary it is, you know, because like if you didn't have a day where you were depressed and down, you wouldn't know what it feels like to be happy.
Right.
If you were happy all the time, happiness wouldn't be what it is. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I like to, I don't call it something, but when we're in a struggle, we don't see the end of the struggle.
Yes.
But once you finally get through that struggle and you acquire the happiness and get rid of that struggle, get it behind you, we tend to have this amnesia of we forget what it was like to go through the struggle, or we forget the hard time and we're only remembering the good. So when another one hits us, we think it's the end of the world again.
Yeah.
But in actuality, you already went through a hard struggle. You
100%.
got to happiness. You're just dealing with another one. And I was kind of under the impression as we got older, things got easier.
No.
But that is not the case at all.
Man.
Actually, it's a complete opposite.
Yeah.
As you get older, it gets more difficult.
Yes.
And as you get older and you're living and getting through things, more and more people die around you.
Yes.
And I was like, because we actually, there was a gentleman that I worked with. There was a giant crash in Merrimack recently.
Super sad when stuff like that happens,
and
man.
somebody crossed the line, hit him head on. And
my mom was actually telling me about that.
Yeah, dude, it just happened. And this guy, Sean, and I was on the maintenance team with him at Walmart back in the day. And they said that, you know, an 18-year-old died. Well, it was his son. But then we found out that the entire family was in the car. They're all in the hospital right now.
Yeah.
I don't even think they know that he's passed.
Yeah.
So it's so unfortunate, and I feel bad for that. But it's just like, this is how life goes. As we go on, terrible things happen, people pass, and I feel like as I get closer and closer to my mid 40s, it's just more and more and more. And you know, a couple days ago, there was this guy that got diagnosed with diabetes. He gave it to himself. He decided not to take care of it, and that was 23 years ago. And he passed January 10th.
Yeah.
You know, because he allowed that to kill him, and he didn't care, and he did whatever he wanted to. And, you know, my wife was really upset, and I'm like, look, he did it to himself. And she's like, well, what about the kids? And I go, it's really bad for the kids, but maybe, hopefully, the kids will see what he did to himself and maybe not go down that path.
100%.
It's like,
I saw
troubling.
this idea the other day. You choose your hard.
Yeah.
You choose your hard. You choose like diabetes was one of the examples they gave, but you know, you can choose to eat healthy, take care of yourself, exercise, like do those kind of things. And it's hard. It's obviously hard. Like,
it's so difficult.
It's not easy. Anything that requires discipline, I think it can be like really a struggle, because there's days where you really don't want to do it, but those are the days you have to do it the most, you know?
Exactly.
But that was one of the examples they give. It's like you either choose to do that or you choose to deal with the hard down the road, when, you know, like diabetes as an example, then you're putting yourself in like such a bad situation.
I get it all the time. Like when we go to family gatherings and stuff, and sometimes a little bit from my family as well. I always tell them, you know, I got some restrictions. I got to take digestive before I eat stuff that I don't normally eat. And everybody's making fun of me because, like, why are you doing this? You know, why won't you eat this stuff? It just tastes good. It's good. It's great. And I'm like, because when I'm your age, I don't want to deal with gout. I don't want to deal with diabetes. I don't want to deal with diverticulitis, which are all diseases. Now, of course, diabetes, you can have diabetes 1, which is it's
Kinda born
hereditary.
with it, right,
You're
yeah.
born with it.
Yeah.
That's different. That's completely different. But diabetes too, you give it to yourself.
Yes.
Diverticulitis, you can give it to yourself because you don't have enough fiber in your diet. And if you know anything about the food industry itself, they've taken so much fiber out of the food that we eat today that nobody's getting the proper amount of fiber,
Yeah, man,
which
it's
causes
crazy.
diverticulitis. So when I eat an orange instead of drinking orange juice, that's because I want fucking fiber. I
Yeah.
need those things because I
those
know that
things,
these
yeah.
things can be,
Man,
that it can happen.
It's crazy. I remember because I lived in Brazil for a little bit, right? And like I remember coming back to the U.S. One of the first meals I had, I was going to fight a competition, so I wasn't like eating bad food like Five Guys or Chick-fil-A or something like this. It was like we went to a restaurant. And I got chicken, rice, and vegetables. And after being in Brazil, all the food there was like very like natural. I think in Brazil there's certain preservatives that they can't put in food that they can put in food here.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we do here, that
that they don't
nobody
do
else
anywhere
will
else,
do.
right? But you know, I it was funny because I came back and I was like, oh, this is a good healthy meal. But my body, I felt it like in my body that it wasn't as good as I thought it was because my body was like used to getting the like really natural stuff
Yes.
when I was in Brazil. So when I came back to the U.S. and I had like my first meal, I was like, oh my God, man, like what's up with
Right?
my stomach? Like what's wrong? You know?
Yeah.
So it's just crazy, man.
But
how
but they all make fun of me. They all do, and I'm like, look, hey, you
Uh-huh.
guys all got problems. You're all in your 60s,
yeah.
and you got major problems.
But that's
I don't
the
wanna
difference
have that.
between like the instant gratification and the long term, right?
Right?
Because instant gratification, I eat this food now, man, it tastes so good, like I'm happy right now. But then down the road, I have to deal with all these problems that like.
And it's not easy to restrict myself so much.
No, man,
It's
and
hard.
It's part of it. It's a struggle, man. It's not easy.
You know what I
It's
mean? It's-
training, like we talked about Jiu-Jitsu, man. It's training. Every day is training. You know.
It is. It's tough. It's hard, and that's what you need to do in order to better yourself. In order to
100%.
come out on the other side, a
Uh-huh.
stronger, better person, is you have to deal with these things head on, figure out like what's gonna cause an issue, and try to avoid it.
Yeah.
And and I think that you've really come a long way. I mean, I've only known you for
Thank
8
you, man. Thank you
years,
so
and
much.
I've seen a tremendous change
I really appreciate
in
that,
everything
man.
that you've been doing. And to see you now, up in Concord, training the kids and doing all this stuff, I was just like, it's so cool to see. And having your dad on and training with everybody, like I tell all of you, it's just you are an extension of my family. It's
Yeah,
it's
man, it
more
really
than
is
just
family.
Acquaintances. You
Really
know what
is
I
family,
mean?
man, yeah.
And
100%.
it's been pretty amazing to kind of watch you grow.
Yeah, I really appreciate
Because
that,
I
man.
am the old man in the room. Even though somebody said I looked 26 the other day,
You
so
do look very young.
that
man.
was
You do
a
look very
win.
young.
God, that felt good.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, but no.
Jiu-Jitsu's
Um,
working its magic.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think it's all the menthol cigarettes I used to smoke. It just trapped it
Yeah, yeah.
in my 20s. So it just that's a joke I make, but it's just been so amazing to see you grow and see where you are today, and to actually, everybody thinks that everybody's got it so easy because we're all on the outside looking at what you've accomplished and where you are right now.
100%.
But the struggle and the discipline and what you had to go through to get where you are today was not any easier than what
A lot
anybody else
happens
is going
behind the
through.
scenes, man. A
If
lot
you put
happens
in the
behind
work,
scenes.
you put in the time, and you put in the effort, this is what you get.
Yeah, and that was like getting my black belt really changed my perspective on things, because realistically it was like the first thing that I like really accomplished in life, because I dropped out of college. I didn't get a college degree. It was like the first thing that I kind of really saw through start to finish. And what I realized is that it wasn't start to finish. It was start to start.
Gotcha.
Because what it really is,
Yes.
it's just that constant journey, that constant like.
You have to have it.
Yeah.
There is no finish.
There is no finish line,
You
man.
want to know when it's finished? When we're dead.
Yes.
That's when it's
exactly.
finished. That's when I
Exactly.
stop learning. That's when I stop
100%.
everything.
And
Until
you see,
then,
like a lot of people, man, like they stop doing what they're like passionate about. Like people like retire and they
Yep.
stop doing what they love, man. And then like their health deteriorates. And
Yes.
they deteriorate, and then they end up passing like a lot sooner than maybe they would have if they kept doing what they were doing. You know?
I think most people today that's the reason why they don't stop working. That's the reason why they don't
Keeps 'em
stop with their
going.
passions, because most people have realized everybody who retired is like dead.
Yeah.
They don't make it like more than 5 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, because you just stop doing what makes you, you know.
Yeah, and you're not doing anything, and you just deteriorate and fall apart. That's why,
100%.
like, again, I don't get a lot of sleep. I'm always tired, but I'm always going. I'm
Yeah.
always doing the next thing. I'm moving on to the next
Rest
step.
when you're dead, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll get some sleep, maybe 4, maybe 5 hours, 6 if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
That's a nice night of sleep right there. But I got to keep going, because if I want to acquire the goals that I've set for myself by the time that I'm 50, so that I don't have to work this hard, I want to earn the money to hopefully get me to a point where the money can do some of the work for me.
Yeah.
And then I can take a small break, but I'm not going to stop.
No, and
I'm not
I
gonna-
think my dad's an amazing example
Just
of that.
keep
man.
going.
Cause
Yeah.
like my dad, bro, like he's like, man, what he's done with the academy is amazing. Like she's super successful with the business, and it's obviously because it's what he loves to do, right?
Yeah, and he just keeps driving at it. I love the new color scheme.
Man, it looks
love
beautiful in there.
it.
And that's the thing, man. It's like, he's almost like 30 years in business, and he's still making those changes. He's still
Yes.
looking like where he can improve the academy, and it's all for like the students, like
Right.
So
Right.
it's really cool to see how, I think as kids we kind of don't appreciate our parents that much.
And that's 100% true.
And now doing what I do, having kind of being in a similar position as to him, like I just like, man, like my dad's a superhero.
Right.
He's a superhero. What he does, man, like.
And for you to see that at 24 is pretty incredible, because I didn't see those things in my dad until I
Yeah.
was in my late 30s.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I still get like the occasional secondhand embarrassment when he tells a dad joke. And
oh,
class
wait.
and-
Yeah, of course. But
but like he.
but
really
you
is such an
understand what he
inspiration.
was telling you. You
100%.
understand why he was telling you the
Now I
things you were
see it.
telling you. And
Now
now
I
it's
see
all
it.
clicking. And now
Uh-huh.
you're like, shit, I really appreciate everything
Yeah,
you
man.
did.
So like we butted heads a lot, like when I was growing up, because we're very like-minded.
Yeah.
And
But boys always fight their fathers.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing. It's like a father is always waiting for the day where the son is going to fight back, in a sense, sometimes physical, sometimes not, but they're waiting for that day because they have to win.
yeah,
They cannot allow you to win, because then they lose control. And I feel like, well, with me and my dad, I'm still like, I'm not as much today. But when I was younger, I was afraid of him.
yeah,
And it
Of
needed
course,
it
of course.
needed to be that
Yeah,
way
yeah.
in order for the dynamic to work. You know what I mean? But now, as an adult and being a better person for myself, I'm like, oh, I now get what he was doing.
Yes.
know?
And I think that's like now after, like obviously I'm still very young. I'm still going to experience so much in my life. Like my life really has just begun,
No, it has.
But I think now, like seeing it, like the way that I grew up in the childhood, like through my childhood, and the way that he did things the way he did, I now see why he did it that way, and what the purpose of it was. Whereas, like when you're in the trenches, when you're in the middle of that, it's not as easy to see as clear,
Right.
So then you're like, oh man, like my dad doesn't like me because he said this, or like,
Yes.
what's going on, and there's those misconceptions. But like, if you really think about it, man, like I can't speak for all parents, and I'm not a parent, so I don't know, but I really truly believe that like there's no stronger form of unconditional love than between a parent and a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes it so hard, because as kids, you have like, you think you know what you want to do, and you think you know what's right. And your
Yep.
parents have gone through that whole experience,
Yes.
and they kind of want to protect you from the things that they might have went through. They don't want you to go through those things. You know what I mean? So I think it's like, it's a really tough dynamic, because it's unconditional love. So no matter what happens, you always have love for your children. But like, it's got to be like, so like if your kid's hurting, you're hurting. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
well, think
Like,
about it. There's no book out there really, except for the one that Ben Greenfield
man.
just wrote
about
on
how to be a
parenting.
how to be a
How to
parent.
be a parent.
Yeah. It's the toughest job there is, man.
It's
It's gotta be.
It's got to be the most difficult thing in the
Yeah.
world. Almost everybody around me has had kids. Unfortunately, we were incapable of doing it. So I'll never know how hard it is.
Yeah.
But what I see is everybody just trying to do the best that they can
for their kids.
Always.
It's such a selfless,
you may not do it right, but maybe you got to the right spot because of it.
I think something that really helped me with kind of that kind of stuff, understanding that kind of stuff, is you remember Mariana? Mariana's she studied psychology and a lot of stuff, and something that she would always tell me, because I would always feel so guilty about saying stuff, or if I did something and it didn't come across the way I wanted it to come across, I'd feel so guilty, man, why did I say that? I'm a bad person, this and that. But I think what's always super important to realize, and what she helped me realize, is that you need to know where your intentions are.
Ah, yes.
So maybe you might say something, you might hurt somebody's feelings, but that wasn't your intention.
Right.
And from my experience, you can clearly see when you're doing something with good intentions, and when you can feel it. You can feel it if you're doing something with bad intentions.
Yes.
There's a lot of almost hateful, spiteful
No,
energy.
I agree with you 1,000%, because I knew when I was doing something wrong, and I knew how I felt, and now I know how I feel when I'm doing everything the right way. And if something goes wrong, I know that I was doing it with not ill intentions.
Out of love. It was out of love. Yeah.
Everything that I'm doing today is because I want to do the best that I can.
And whether you see that, other people see that, other people see that.
Yes.
Other people, we talked about a little bit the other day. I remember we were kind of chatting about the podcast and stuff. And I told you that what really matters is people see how much you care.
Yeah.
What you're doing, this, man, is amazing. You're so passionate about it. And that's why it's such a pleasure for me to be here. 'Cause I really love to surround myself with that energy when people are excited and they love something and they're excited to share it. I think energy is contagious. So
100%.
You surround yourself with those people, man. You guys are just gonna go. You guys are gonna keep growing together, and it's a beautiful thing, man.
That's something that I feel too. It's just the positive energy I get in class, and the positive energy I get from everybody around me. And now with my new position that I'm in, all I've been getting is positive.
It's all love, man.
And it's it's so amazing compared to what I used to deal with, because all I put myself around was negative energy, and I wasn't going anywhere. And nothing was happening. And now it's the opposite. All the doors are open. I can go through them if I need to. And it's not easy.
No,
it's not easy, but it's better. You have support.
And I think everything in life that is worth it isn't easy.
No. Of course not. Playing guitar.
Yeah.
That's not easy. That's hard.
And I spent hours, man, just playing the same little thing over and over again. But the first time that I play it somewhat smooth, I'm that's why I did it, man.
Right.
And then I'm all right, and I can do this.
That's Tyler. He plays the bass. He's been working on his sax. Man, he's doing the music,
amazing.
And he's
so
just
amazing.
Getting better and better, and he's doing things, and he's he made his own music, and he's doing all kinds of shit with the music scene.
And he has the intro for the podcast.
Yeah.
It's really cool, man.
Yeah, it's just
a lot of respect.
But that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. I usually have to hound him for that. I'm like, dude, come on. Give me 30 seconds. Come on.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? But he's putting in that work, and he's trying to do it, and he's going to open mics, and he's starting to get back into it again a little bit more. But it's not easy.
No. It's not, and it really isn't easy, but I think it's one of those things that you can decide to do what you're passionate about, and you can die trying, or you can choose the easy path.
Yeah.
And you can get a comfortable job. And and then you live out your life, but what are you living for?
I don't know. I had a comfortable job, and I had to get rid of it. I had to, because I was bored. I was losing myself, even with jiu-jitsu in my life and working out and staying active and doing all the stuff I was doing. I was miserable as a person because I was in a building by myself for 10.5 hours a day. And now I've surrounded myself with people, and that's where I was meant to be. I was meant to be around people, having conversations all day. It's so funny to me, because Sometimes we'll have a little bit of downtime where we're just cleaning up and doing things, but we're still doing things. And everybody's like, it's so slow. And I'm like, you have no idea what slow is. Slow is 6 hours in a friggin' box by yourself with nobody coming in. So I would just spend every day in my own head. And I was like, man, I love this. I'm always doing something. So you do lose yourself in that comfort zone. That comfort
100%.
zone is very dangerous, I think.
And
that's why I tell everybody, blow it the fuck up, get out of it, do something new, do something where you're gonna fail.
100%.
You're gonna fail until you get it, and then you won't fail. But then you move on to the next step and you fail again. You gotta keep failing to move forward.
And I think that's kind of like the behind the scenes process, right? Is it's very easy, like especially with social media and those kind of things nowadays. It's very easy to see like the highlights, like this person just like for instance, you go on Eduardo's Instagram, you see a bunch of pictures of him gold medals around his neck.
Yeah.
What you don't see is like, okay, how do I get to this tournament? How do I like pay for food? Like, like
you got to get there. You got to pay for everything.
Training that led up to it, man. There's so much that goes behind the scenes, and it's very easy to look at someone and be jealous of like what they've accomplished, but like we say, you don't know the full story, man.
You don't. And that's why I was bringing that up with you. There's so many 20-year-olds and 24-year-olds that may go to your Instagram and see you working at that school and doing all these things.
My Instagram, it looks amazing.
But this is the struggle it took for you to get where you are.
100%.
And that's what's missing.
Yeah.
That's why that instant gratification, social media is kind of like toxic.
Yes, it is 100%.
You're not getting the full, oh man, I want it, you know what I mean? And then they got all these filters and you can look better. And I've never used a filter. I mean, I've used silly filters that completely change me.
Yeah, I've used them in the past. Yeah.
I've never used something where, like, you get rid of, a scar on your cheek or make your eyebrows look better. I just think that those things are not healthy.
And I think, like, the way that I kind of, like, approach life is kind of, like, this artist, like, outlook. Like, kind of, like, everything is art. Like, to me, like, those are the things that make you, you know. Like, everybody's unique. Oh, I have this scar on my face. Like, well, maybe nobody else has that scar. Like, this is, like, specific to me.
Yeah.
Like, you look at, like, Jiu-Jitsu. Me and you could both do an armbar from the mount.
Okay, yep.
But it's going to look different.
Yeah.
Because we're not the same person.
Correct.
And I think that's the beauty of things. Like, is, like, I don't know, like, I like the individuality. Like, being able to, like, express yourself and that kind of stuff. So, when kind of everybody's trying to fit within a guideline or like a rule set, kind of like an Instagram, like, oh, I got to use this filter, I got to post about this.
Right.
This is trending. Like,
yes.
I think it takes away from people. I've always like been kind of like the against the grain kind of guy. And I've always like looked up to people that are like against the grain. Like, you look back to like Jimi Hendrix, like, everybody was like, man, what's up with this guy? He's coming out on stage and all this like flamboyant, colorful clothing, and he's playing all this loud, crazy psychedelic music and stuff. And like, it's just one of those things where it's like, he was so authentic with who he was and so sure of who he was. That's like how I strive to be. Like, be so authentic that when people come to me and people see me, there's no misconception.
Yeah.
Of who I am,
Yeah, and that's what I've been trying to do too. It's just to be authentic.
It's a journey.
That's why I started this, was to make sure that I don't go back to drinking, but also to show people that you can do it. Anybody 100%. Can do it. And I was a complete shitbag. Like, it was not good where the road I was going down. I mean, I've even had doctors tell me that they don't know how I'm alive.
Yeah.
The amount of shit that I was drinking and the destruction and just the chaos I was bringing into my own life and surrounding myself with all of those people. It was just not a good place. But now, finding myself and bettering myself and finding things that make me happy, things that make me strive for greatness, all of that stuff is what makes me authentic today. And I'm trying to show everybody that anybody can do this, but you have to have the drive behind it. And when I said fail, I don't look at failure as a bad thing. I look at it as a learning experience. You're not failing, you're learning.
Failure is beautiful.
Failure is beautiful because that shows that it shows that you're trying to do something, but you haven't reached it yet.
Yes.
But every time that you fail, you learn what caused you to fail. Therefore, you can try again, and hopefully the next time it works out. And it doesn't matter how many
just
times.
Just a little bit closer. It could be like a centimeter closer to what you're trying to accomplish.
It's just like trying to get an plata. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden, it happens.
Boom, it happens.
And you're like, holy shit, I got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and that's when you can appreciate it.
Yes.
That's when you can appreciate
it.
it.
You know, it's just all that stuff is so important. And I'm just really glad you came on.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for
had this conversation with me, man. I'm telling you, the younger generation out there is looking for instant gratification. And everybody needs to understand that you're going to go through some dark times, you're going to have good times, and you're going to have hard times.
And that's what makes life life.
Yes, but that's also what makes us stronger.
Yes.
Is when you get through all of that.
100%.
All of it.
100%.
Dude, Mason, thank you
so much
for coming on. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome.
Yeah, man. We'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody. I hope you all out there have an amazing Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, I will talk to you later.
Yes.